All right, I'd like to welcome everybody to Ironside Lunch and Learn. This week's Parashat is Parashat Titzei, and it's a very famous Parashat because it starts with Titzei lemilchama l'oivecha. Should you go to war against your enemies? Untano Hashem elokecha be'yadecha v'shavita shivyo. And Hashem will put him in your hands, and you will capture him as a captive. The pshat, the simple interpretation of that, is that we have over here Moshe Rabbeinu continuing his instruction to Am Yisrael. It's already been a few parashiyot, a 37-day stretch, where Moshe Rabbeinu is giving instruction to the Jewish people as they form themselves as part of a society, as part of a community in Eretz Yisrael. So right now, last week's parasha, we said you'll need judges and you'll need officers to implement the law and to carry out the law. This week's parasha, Titzei, says, should you go to war? Because they're about to go to war. They're about to fight the 7 nations that live in Eretz Yisrael in order to take over the land. So the instruction in this week's parasha is, when you go to war, know that Hashem is going to put your enemy in your hand. That's the simple interpretation. Know that right now we're in a very special time period. We're in the time of Elul. This is the season of Teshuvah. This is the season of introspect. This is the time when we start taking personal note of our actions of the entire year, getting ready for Judgment Day. We're about 2 or 3 weeks away from Judgment Day, the day when everything gets decided. You live, you die, your health, your finances, your children, everything gets decided on that day. So everyone is heavily involved in Teshuvah. So the deeper meaning of Titzei lemilchama l'oivecha, who's your enemy? Who is your daily enemy? Who is always there trying to make you fail? The devil himself, the Yetzer Hara. So Hashem is saying, Titzei lemilchama l'oivecha, when you go to war against your enemy, I'm going to put him in your hand. Why is this parasha being mentioned now out of all times? Because why is it mentioned right now during the Chodesh Elul? Because there's one thing that you should know, is that the Yetzer Hara does not want you to succeed in your Teshuvah. He does not want you to do the right thing. If there's one time he wants you to fail, it's these few weeks. Because we learned last week the power of Chodesh Elul. Now it has unique powers to clean up the past 11 months and to propel you into next year with a huge blessing. So the Yetzer Hara says, this is a unique opportunity. I want him to squander it. I want him to lose out on this opportunity. So Moshe Rabbeinu was telling us every single year in Parashat Titzei, when you go to war on this month, al oivecha, on the Yetzer Hara, when you fight him, and that's the key, you have to fight him during this month, Hashem will put him in your hands. That's just a little nugget to get the class started, to give you a feeling of what's going on right now. We are going to study a little bit of Parashat Titzei, but we're also going to do some spiritual preparation for Rosh Hashanah. We're going to tie it all in together and show you how it ties in beautifully. Let's go into the parasha. It says, Moshe Rabbeinu was telling the Jewish people that when they go to war, there's going to be a situation where we're going to have to take hostages or go to war. And there's this very unique situation. We have a righteous Jew walking by a beautiful woman and he wants her. What does he do? What does he do? Is he allowed to be with her?
Not for 30 days. Not for 30 days.
Not for 30 days. That's right. They say she's allowed, you can be with her, but there's a few conditions. You bring her back home. You shave her head. You make her wear disgusting clothes. You make her grow out her nails. And you put her, it says over here, you take the woman, you bring her into your house. Meaning, you can't put her in the shed. You can't put her in the guest house. You can't put her in the other room. She has to be in the living room. That every time when you come and go, you're going to see her. Inside your house, something where she's visible. And she has to go through the whole process of mourning her parents. So you can imagine, shaved head, looking all disgusting. crying all the time. She's not so appealing anymore. And that's the purpose over here. We want to see if it was just like an impulse, or this is really something there. And then you have to keep in mind that he's already married. This is going to be wife number 2. So the Pesukim continue to tell us that she's going to be your second wife, and she's going to be Senu'ah. You're going to have one who's Ahuva and one who's Senu'ah. One is going to be your beloved wife, the one you already have, and she will eventually turn out to be your hated wife, the one you hate. And you'll have children with her. And her child will end up being a ben sorer umoreh, a wayward and defiant son. The Pasuk continues to say, "Eneno shomea bekol aviv ubekol imo." Doesn't listen to his parents. V'yisru oto v'lo yishma lehem. He doesn't obey them even after they discipline him. So once you have a son like that, what do? You're trying to discipline the child, it's not working. V'tafsu bo aviv ve'imo. His parents take him, and they take him out. V'tziu oto leziknei ha'ir. They take him out to the elders of the town. And then they profess to the elders of the town. This is the big one. Benenu zeh sorer umoreh. Enenu shomea bekolen zoler usoveh. This son of ours is disloyal and defiant. He does not listen to us, and he's a glutton and a drunkard. What's the outcome of that? They stone him. He gets stoned. And then they hang him up on a tree. Let's start from the beginning. Keep in mind that this never happened in the history of the Jewish people. Never happened. So many technicalities in order for it to really happen. Just goes to show you, we're not reaching for this thing to happen at all, to the point that it never happened. So many technicalities on this. The Gemara talks about Ben Sorer Umoreh. But in order to understand what's going on over here, here's a man. He's at war. He sees a woman. He wants her. He desires her. He brings her back. He goes through this whole entire process, goes through with it, gets married. She becomes the hated wife. She has a child. The child is a terrible child. He doesn't listen. He's a glutton. He's a glutton and a drunkard. They can't keep him in check. They bring him to the townspeople. They can't do anything with him. They said, you know what? It's better to just get rid of him. So they stone him and then they hang him up. Some sort of like a snowball effect that started from his father at war. And in Hebrew, it's called Avera Goreret Avera. A sin begets another sin. One thing leads to the other. Here's a perfect example of one bad choice that snowballed into a guy hanging on a tree. If we go a little bit further in the Parashat, by the way, this Parashat is fully loaded with mitzvot. There's about 77 mitzvot in this Parashat alone. Out of 613, that's a big percentage. When you go further into the Parashat, we have another unique situation. We have a gentleman walking, and he comes across a bird's nest. Ki kare kan tzipor. What's ki kare kan tzipor? If you're walking along the road and by chance you see a bird's nest, and once you see this bird's nest, there's a particular mitzvah in Judaism where you shoo away the mother bird.
So she doesn't see you taking the eggs.
She doesn't see you taking the eggs, and you take the eggs or the chicks, and that is one of the biggest mitzvot that our religion has to offer. As a matter of fact, this particular mitzvah promises you long life. There's actually 2 mitzvot that promise you long life.
Caring for your parents.
Exactly. And the second one is Shiluach HaKan. Ironically, they say that the hardest mitzvah in all of the 613 is honoring your parents. And the easiest mitzvah of 613 is Shiluach HaKan. Now, we can go into Shiluach HaKan and see, on face value, it looks like pretty cruel. There's a bird just sitting there with her chicks. She just had some babies. What are we doing there? Shooing her away. And why is that considered a mitzvah?
We're sparing the mother from her seeing that we're going to be taking her children from her.
Well, great. So we save her from one thing. She doesn't get to see it. But we're taking away her children. So what is it? So there's many explanations.
She could have more.
God willing.
No.
One explanation is the bird goes up to the heavens, or the neshama of the bird goes to the heavens and says, "They took my children. They took my children. I am without my children. I'm all alone. I was home, I was in my nest, and then somebody came and took away my children." And that begins to arouse rachamim in the heart of Hashem, the measure of mercy in God's heart or in God's eyes. But then in return, he begins to think about his children. He says, "Hey, wait, what about my kids? What about the Jews? Where are they? They're also not in their nest. They also got taken away. They're also in the galut." And he starts to feel for his children. And that makes the coming of Mashiach come closer and closer. Shiluach HaKen is to arouse Hashem's feelings for his own children so that Mashiach can come faster.
Would that suppose then that once the Mashiach comes, that mitzvah will become moot?
I wonder. Certain mitzvot are going to continue, certain are not. I'm not too learned about that one. I have to look into it.
The Yetzer Hara is removed.
Huh?
The Yetzer Hara, the inclination.
The evil inclination will no longer be around.
Right.
But his question is a good one. Which mitzvot continue at that moment? Food for thought. Let's continue with the Pesukim. So here we go. We have this gentleman. He merited to have this mitzvah of Shiluach HaKen. The next pasuk says, "And should you build a house, one of a mitzvah that the person has that he can perform when he builds a home is to build a railing on the roof. It's an actual mitzvah of ours. Build a railing on the roof. You go to the next mitzvah, to the next pasuk. It says, and when you plow your field, make sure that you don't mix two species. You can only have one species at a time. You can't mix them. It's called kilayim. The next pasuk says, and don't plow with a donkey and an ox together. And then the next pasuk says, and when you wear clothes, don't wear shatnez. Don't wear clothes that have a wool and linen mix. And then it goes to the next pasuk and it says, and when you wear clothes, when you have a four-cornered garment, make sure that you put gedilim, you have tzitziyot on it. So another weird combination, a weird series of pesukim, one after the other. But here we have the exact opposite of what we just learned with the Ben Soreh U'Moreh. Before we learned avera goreret avera. Here we learned that mitzvah goreret mitzvah. You do one mitzvah, and you beget another one. Hashem gets you another mitzvah. Look at this. He gets started with freeing the bird. All of a sudden, he's got a home. Here comes another home. You gave him a home. You gave him a chance to do another mitzvah. He started to build a house. He put the railing on the roof. You did a mitzvah. Another mitzvah. All of a sudden, he's got a field. Now he's got a field. Okay, what mitzvah can I do with the field? I can't plant two species together. You did that mitzvah. Move on to the next. All of a sudden, he's got an ox and a donkey. This guy's moving up in life. He's got a Porsche and a Ferrari. Right? All of a sudden, it says that you can't do lo techosh b'shov v'chamaro yachdav. He performed another mitzvah. All of a sudden, you see, he's got fancy clothes. Lo tilbash shatnez, wool and linen. He's moving up in life. Mitzvah, goreret mitzvah. Before, it's avera, goreret avera. And you can see the outcome.
It's an interesting connection you're making. But in fact, the mitzvahs that you're talking about have different causes and effects. For instance, the one about putting a railing around your roof. In biblical times, the houses were small. People did spend the nights on the roof
because it was cooler. That's right.
it was a legitimate thing to make the place safer.
Yes.
The issue about Shabbat days, there you're talking about the Torah building boundaries between the profane, if you will, the life we lead, and what's holy. Because the priests wore linen, but you weren't supposed to wear linen for other things, and mixing them was a way to set up boundaries.
Great points.
My thought is you've tied them together in a beautiful way.
It's a drash.
The mitzvahs are somewhat different in nature.
Definitely. I mean, Shivim Panim La Torah. Right now I'm giving you a drash, a nice way of interlacing everything together so we can learn something for today.
I understand.
But great points, and I agree with everything you said.
Can I, just for a second, so what you're talking about is definitely open into interpretation, correct? It's not just one connotation, it's...
No. This is a combination of how we can see the Torah through the drash. You know, the Torah can be learned through pardes, pshat, simple, remez, drash, and sod. Right now, this is a drash. This is taking a bunch of things together, tying them in together, and see how we can interpret it into everyday use nowadays.
Sure.
And that's what we're learning today, that a sin gets you another sin.
We're also building on another theme of the Torah, that the things that are spoken about in the last parsha, in many cases, are harbingers or related to things in this parsha.
Yes.
So,
you know what? That's a great segue to the next section. Let's do it like that. It says, we started with Ki Titzei LaMilchama, right? Those are the first pesukim of this week's parasha. However, last week's parasha, Parashat Shoftim, on the 6th Aliyah, we had a preview of Ki Titzei LaMilchama. It actually says over there, Ki Titzei LaMilchama. Al oivecha, lo tira. It was like practically identical to the first pasuk. And over there it discussed that when the time comes to go to war, the Kohen is going to come to the people and tell them, the time has come to fight. Who amongst you has just built a home? Who amongst you just got married? Who amongst you just planted a field? Who amongst you is scared and soft-hearted? And anyone who falls under those categories does not have to go to war. How does that tie into our lesson today? You can see that when the pasuk says, Ki titzei lamilchama oivecha, we said when you go to war against your enemy, who's your enemy? The Yetzer Hara, this Chodesh Elul. Man, keep in mind, Shoftim was the first week of Elul. So the first and second week of Elul. Ki titzei lamilchama, now you're at war with Yetzer Hara, he's trying to not make you do teshuvah. He says, don't be scared of him. Because basically what God wants you to know is Hashem wants you to do teshuvah and He wants you to win in your judgment day. You have to know that. Hashem wants you to get more life. Hashem wants you to get married, to have children, to have financial success. He wants all that for you. And at the same time, when Yom Ad-Din comes around, there's a lot of people that ignore that day. And there's a lot of people that are very in tune into that day. Over here we see that Hashem, in a way, is trying to give you some loopholes. He's trying to say, here's Chodesh Elul. Regardless of what you did the entire year, tell me if I can get you out of the jam that you're in. So the first one, the loophole that he gives us, he said, Mi bana bait chadash. Who has a brand new home? So anyone who's doing teshuvah in the month of Elul can sit down and say, you know what? From now on, in my house, only kosher. In my house, taharat mishpacha. Me and my wife are going to follow the laws of a kosher home. In my house, there's only going to be no TV. In my house, there's going to be a time when we do classes on a Wednesday night in my home. It's a bait chadash. All of a sudden, you have a brand new home. So Hashem says, "Oh, you have a new home. You've upgraded your home. Now it's more of it's not anything close to what it was for the past 11 months. I'm going to save you from this war. I'm going to save you from this judgment day. Just give me a reason to bail you out. Give me a reason to save you." It says, Who's a person that got married? Aras Isha. Isha, you could also say, is very close to the Shekhinah. Shekhinah is the feminine form of a Kadosh Baruch Hu. It says, who's trying to get close to the Shekhinah? You know, you always hear about people saying, Shekhinah, Shekhinah, Shekhinah. So there's some people that try to get close to the Shekhinah through studying, through prayer. So Hashem's saying, Chodesh Elul, you're trying to get closer to the Shekhinah? You have a case. You have a case. Come Judgment Day, I can say that you've been completely different in Chodesh Elul than you've been the entire year. You're spiritually working on yourself to get closer to the Shekhinah. Who's the one the next one is Nata Karem. Who's the one that planted a seed? What's the seed? The seed of Teshuvah. There's some simple people that just begin their Teshuvah process by saying, you know what, I'm planting a seed. I want to become better. That's a seed. You haven't become better yet. You haven't done the proper steps yet. But you made a decision. You planted a seed. I want to do Teshuvah. I want to start my journey. Hashem says, you're starting a journey of Teshuvah? I can save you. I can save you. Comes to Hayera Verach Levav. If you're scared or if you're soft-hearted. If you know in some of the Sephardic Sidurim, right before you start to pray, there's a little section that says, Leshem Yechud Kudisha Beichu Shchinteh B'dechilu Rechimu Rechimu Dechilu. It's like a little section that prepared. It's like Yechudim. It's like, in a way, you're taking all this prayer and you're saying it, I'm offering completely to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And it says over there, when you come in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, B'dechilu Urechimu. Dechilu means fear, Rechimu means love. So it says over here, who is scared or soft-hearted? So if you're coming now during Elul and you do your teshuvah out of fear, that's okay. And if you're doing it because out of soft heart, meaning lovingly, that's okay too. Hashem is saying, give me a reason to save you. Show me that you started teshuvah. Show me you changed your home. Show me that you're trying to get close to the Shekhinah. Show me that you're doing some sort of teshuvah process. Let me, Titzei milchama. Should you go to this war of Chodesh Elul right before Judgment Day? Give me a reason to save you.
The relationship between man and God contains both elements. To some extent, He sees us as His children, but we're also meant to fear Him. And the word fear, as it's translated in English, really is closer to respect rather than fear. And, but there's no question.
Fear with respect.
Right.
It's like you have to couple those words together to explain the word yira'ah. Very good. You should come every week. I really am enjoying your input. Be'emet.
Thank you.
One last thing, just to tie it all in together. There's another 2 pesukim in this week's parasha that read, "Ve'im lo karov achicha elecha ve'lo yadato." And if you have a fellow Jew that you're not close to and you don't know him, "V'asafto oto b'betecha v'ayimecha ado shachicha oto v'ashevot lo." I'm sorry. This is when a fellow Jew loses something, like an animal or an object. So these 2 pesukim say, and you don't know the person, and you don't know who it belongs to. He says, take that lost thing into your house until your brother asks for it and you give it back to him. And you should do that for his donkey, for his clothes, and for anything that he's lost. And you can't ignore it. You can't shy away from it and not give it any attention. In other words, there's something that was lost, and it's your duty as a Jew to return it to your fellow Jew. You don't know who he is, bring it into your house until somebody says, did anyone find the donkey? Did anyone find my gold bracelet? Did anyone find my purse? And you say, yes, I found it. I've been holding it for you. That's the pshat. Let's do the drash behind it. This class is filled with drash. It says, again, you have to keep in mind that there's no coincidence that these pesukim are here during the month of Elul, during the time of Teshuvah. There's an absolute reason for it. And the way you can interpret this pesuk also is, Ve'im lo karuv achicha elecha ve'lo yadato. If your fellow brother is not close and he doesn't know, what is he not close to? He's not close to Hashem. Ve'lo yadato, and he doesn't know Hashem. What do you do with another fellow Jew that is not close to Hashem and doesn't know Hashem? What do you do? says, "V'asafto el toch betecha." Bring him in. Where do you bring him? El betecha, to your house. What's a house? Your own home. Also, what do you say? Bet knesset. Bring it to your shul. Bring that Jew with you to le betecha, either bet knesset or to your own home.
A proper home has a bet knesset in it.
Say it again.
A proper home has a bet knesset in it.
How many people follow that today? And be with him and give him drash. This is good. We have the word drash in our learning today. There's a chazakah. So it says over here, and bring him in and give him drash. Talk to him. Teach him. Let him know. Let him feel. Let him understand. Pass on your knowledge that you have onto your fellow brother. Vashevoto lo. What's hashevoto? Bring him back. Teshuvah. Bring him back. But the word lo means to him. And you should bring back to him. Who's him? Lo. Kadosh Baruch Hu. And bring back your brother to him, to Hashem. The next pasuk says, do the same thing to his donkey. Many times when they say the word donkey in the Torah, l'chamoro, the hidden meaning is the chomeriyut, the materialism of a person. That's why when Avraham Avinu, when he was telling he told Ishmael and Eliezer to say, shvu po im hachamor. He told them, what? You guys stay here with the materialism. You guys are always going to be people of money, of gold, of anything, of all the desires. Me and my son are going to go to the spiritual side of life. So over here, he should do the same thing with his chomriyut. Take down his materialism. Explain to him the difference between being spiritual and materialistic. And that you should do to his dress. Who wears a dress? His wife. Bring his wife also. Make sure that she does tshuva also. Teach her about kosher home. Teach her about kosher food. Teach her about dressing tzniut. And you should do that to everything that he lost. If he lost his mind, if he lost his spirit, if he lost his little spark for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, bring it back. And you cannot ignore him. Very apropos to the time that we're in right now. Elul. Yeah, of course, work on yourself, no problem. Do your own personal teshuvah. But if you're in a circle of friends and you see that one guy is really off the road, this pasuk is telling us, take him to the side. Talk to him. Wake him up. Even if he changes one thing, about him, about himself during this teshuvah period, he's got a case.
When we are judged, we're not just judged as individuals. We're judged as part of the Jewish people.
That's right. That's why all our prayers are in plural. If you notice the whole Amidah, Refaenu, Barechenu, it's all in plural. And a real Jew doesn't just pray for himself. A real Jew, when he's done praying for himself and says, and I want to pray for my neighbor, and for my doctor, and for my friend, and for my cousin, and for all Am Yisrael, and for Jews that I don't know. I pray for all of them, for their health, for their success, for their teshuvah should be successful. Part of your prayer should be you, and then the other 50% should be for people that you know, people that you don't know. That's how a Jew prays. So over here you see that the Torah is instructing us to take another Jew and try to bring him closer to Teshuvah, especially during this time. Thank you for joining us for this lunch and learn. Bezat Hashem, you have a Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Turn this on.